We make the future. Utopias of a climate responsible world 2035. Arctic Snapshots.
Hope for planetary well-being. A green transition of multi-species harmony. March 27th, 2035. Utsjoki.
Dear audience, I want to start by thanking you and all other beings. We humans finally give nature an intrinsic value and focus on planetary well-being. What is more, we are well on the way towards reaching equity between and among species. Because of this shift in our thinking, climate responsibility is a basic assumption in all political conduct. Well done! In my view, it is crucial that rich states are now legally obliged to mobilize funds to finance loss and damage caused by climate change. I also wish to highlight the importance of preemptive climate legislations of several states. For example, investments are screened for their estimated climate costs. In many Arctic countries, there are also climate-motivated trade and investment bans. Moreover, here in Finnish Lapland, we have climate referendums, influential NGOs and individuals as forerunners, and indigenous peoples as opinion leaders. Yet, we still have challenges ahead. Distribution of environmental space among species causes conflicts. We have sparse resources for creating a planet-centric future. If you choose me for a municipal councillor, you opt for a tireless defender of post-sovereignty. As a councillor, I would, among other things, seek to gain a seat in the Transnational Council for the Diatna River, a platform with all species represented. Moreover, I would also seek to represent all species of our region in the International Council for future generations. So what do you think of my speech?
What does post-sovereignty mean?
You sound kind of preachy.
Thank you for helping your poor mother record her campaign video. Could you remove these emoji reaction stickers, though?
Mom, everyone uses them.
Dinner's ready.
Since everyone is on the same side, why do we even bother voting?
There are many important issues people still need to agree about, peacefully.
Hey neighbors, would you like some cloudberries? We've got plenty to share.
March 29th, 2035. Utsjoki. Electioneering. First day.
Hey, would you like to scan my QR code? We got free herbs.
Herbs, cool. But what about the big picture? Will you, do something about the small island states and indigenous peoples?
Well, those who suffer more from global heating already have a veto right at the UN. My party triumphantly advocated preemptive climate and climate-side laws at the International Council for Future Generations.
Fifth day. Herbs. Perfect for my tagliatelle.
Please, help yourself. Would you like to scan my campaign code?
All right, but why would I vote for you, moderate?
My party has been active in encouraging investments in carbon-neutral activities, drafting corporate planet responsibility guidelines, and engaging fossil companies with a new identity. We are pro-business, although we have abandoned old ideas of profits, consumption, and ownership.
Ninth day.
Hey, does your lot support these recent waves of eco-terrorism, eco-fascism and climate-motivated coups?
As is the case with many faith-based communities, our Imam Farid Hussain takes climate issues seriously. But he is of course always advocating peaceful means and negotiation.
At home.
I'm exhausted. Ashan, do you think this is going to be too much for me to handle?
Sarah, I believe in you. Your work is important. Remember, verily, with the hardship, there is relief.
August 27th, 2035. Diatna River Council Hall.
Good day, representatives of the region. I hereby open the River Council. Firstly, we'll be discussing the Deatnu Bridge Development Initiative.
If the bridge is built, we must ensure a healthy balance between the needs of the salmon and the fishers. Numbers indicate
Devoting 50% of the designated environmental space for the fish is not what I call fair. According to a recent study, there's no reason...
And it's all about salmon and people again. What about the rich flora of the region?
You and your flowers. We must prioritize.
Please keep your speaking turn short. Councillor Dowd has the floor.
The construction of new fish ladders is of primary importance in the Deatnu River region, and it must be taken into account when developing new infrastructure.
Councillor Pedersen has the floor.
Since we are discussing the rights of the river, I would like to ask you the following. What have been the most important milestones in the past 10 years to undertake this fundamental transition towards a climate-responsible, planet-centric world?
I did it! My first speaking turn!
Congratulations, dear. We saw the live stream. The kids said you looked very impressive.
Thank you. I have to go back now. I love you all.
August 30th, 2035. Therapist's appointment.
Sarah, the last time we met, you were preparing for your first session at the River Parliament. You were very nervous. How did it go? It must have been very exciting.
Yes, it was. I used my first 3 minutes to speak about fish ladders, which is what I intended to do. But right afterwards, I felt overwhelmed and out of place. Councillor Peterson asked such a grand question.
And then what?
And I wanted to take part in the discussion, but I couldn't. I froze up. Now that I finally made it and became a councillor, I should be able to do better. Why do I feel like a fraud?
It's okay to feel overwhelmed, Sarah. You have worked very hard to get this far. How would you have liked to answer to the question?
I can tell you exactly how. I've been thinking about it a lot. He wanted to know what were the most important historical milestones towards a climate-responsible, planet-centric world. It was a provocative question. Of course, the most pivotal milestone was the pandemic in 2025. Due to humankind's failure to tackle climate change, the thawing permafrost released a plethora of bacteria and viruses. One of them turned out to be deadlier than Ebola. The Siberian disease spread fast across the globe. There was no stopping it. I don't think that anyone needs to be reminded of the amount of suffering the pandemic caused. I get shivers just thinking about the symptoms. People succumbed to fever, blood loss, and diarrhea. It could take anything from a couple of weeks to just a few days. 1/10 of the world's population perished. We all lost family and friends. I don't think anyone got through this time unscathed or untouched. It had a huge effect on, well, everything. And as if the virus itself wasn't bad enough, people made it worse. In 2028, eco-terrorists spread the virus deliberately in metro station attacks all over the world. London, Berlin, Beijing. They said that reducing overpopulation would be the cure for the climate crisis.
It was a very hard time for everyone.
It was terrible! And I don't blame people for looking back at it as a personal tragedy. This was even more so because the global economy basically collapsed by 2028. In 2029, there was a mass devastation of pollinating insects in North and South America. It had a major impact on food production and the cost of food skyrocketed. And the only reason we started paying attention to that was the fear of new zoonotic pandemics. All this despair resulted in the rise of spirituality. We turned to gods and each other to make sense of things. This paved the way for a large ecumenical summit.
Yes, Sarah, what about your own religious beliefs? Remember, we are here to talk about you.
Oh, right. Well, for one thing, I think that the ecumenical approach to solving problems made it easier for me to get into politics. My religious background was not an issue. But what I really found important is that in 2030, at that ecumenical summit, the religious leaders of the world, encouraged people to recognize the rights of more than humans for the first time. Inspired by the Welsh Well-being of the Future Generations Act, they also established the International Council for Future Generations to push reforms at the UN and in international law. The most vulnerable people were given the most power at the Council. Educational changes took place across the world. Curriculums became less human and Eurocentric. Artificial intelligence and new methods expanding cognitive boundaries enhanced interspecies understanding. And then, reconstruction of the global economy and political system began in earnest. After all difficulties, nation-states had exceptional political will to think beyond national borders. The climate crisis was now seen as the number one threat to security. Radical changes were finally taking place. There were changes in international law and treaties, such as making financial mobilization for loss and damage compulsory. Pandemic-initiated consumption patterns became the new normal. Regional efforts were made to increase ecological compensation, and post-sovereign regional institutions were established.
Yes, such as the River Council. Let's focus on that for a bit. These are important issues for you, and I've noticed that you have a tendency to think about the big picture a lot. But what does a position at the River Council mean for you, personally? How do you feel about your position?
Well, it's a great personal achievement, but I can't help but look at the grand scale of things. Reactionary political movements did not manage to hinder the positive developments. Because we immigrants were no longer seen as a threat, security policy began to focus on combating climate change above anything else. Shared threat perceptions brought people closer together, and humans were less afraid of each other. I thought about this back when my sister immigrated here with his son. Their integration focused not only on the local habits and culture, but also on the Finnish flora and fauna. My sister's son was able to replace military service with a mandatory ecology retreat. My sister was so proud that he took part in defending the global ecosystem as part of the local Finnish forces.
Family is very important to you.
Yes, and my friends. They are not only dear to me, but a constant source of inspiration. My friend Aslak was the first indigenous presidential candidate in Finland. He's always been very supportive of my career. So, to summarize, what I would have wanted to respond to Councillor Peterson is that these radical changes wouldn't have been possible without great human suffering. And was it worth it? Yes! Now countless more than human lives will be saved. And we will achieve great things on a planetary scale. Just this year, after the long push from the Council for Future Generations, there have been breakthroughs in accepting the veto right for the most vulnerable and in changing the definition of climate refugees. I'm also excited about successful international court cases judging companies and making company board members liable for the future impacts of their decisions.
Sarah, you speak with much passion and you clearly know what you have to say. I think the reason you rose up is because you expect people to feel the same passion as you do. You fear that when you speak to people about important issues, they will not share your commitment right away. Everyone gets nervous, trust me.
Let me guess. You're about to say that as I advance on my political career, I will find more confidence.
Exactly. I was about to say just that.
Putting my thoughts in order is a long process, but I feel so much better. I guess we'll see next week, same time as today?
Mm-hmm.